Now, Christina, the good news is no one was hurt and no homes were damaged, but look how close we came. This is the line where the fire stopped, just across from this home, which is why firefighters knew they had to act fast. It's important to remember when you're dealing with 27 different counts, the jury could convict on all, some, or none of them. So even if the jury reaches a partial verdict, the prosecution could choose to retry anything that may be left undecided. Dale and Christina, we're here by the Yolo Causeway, and this is going to be one of the busiest stretches of road tomorrow morning, and right now it is shaping up to be a treacherous morning commute. This rain that we're feeling right now is only going to intensify, and while the winds that we're feeling right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 miles per hour, tomorrow morning, and I can feel a gust coming right now, but tomorrow morning we're expecting gusts to be as high as 50 miles per hour. They're calling this celebration Day of Decision, and programming doesn't officially begin until 6:30, but we've been out here for much of the day, and as you can see, it's been a non-stop celebration. I want to give you a sense of what's at risk here. So my back right now is to the river. The smoke is coming in that direction. The flames are coming from that way. If you look just around this way, this is one of the buildings from this industrial park, from this commerce park. So this is what's at stake here. Beyond here, on our way in this way, several homes, a residential area. So this is really the priority area for firefighters right now. Darren and Christina, investigators are now confirming that a drug lab set up to extract honey oil from marijuana ignited inside an apartment bathroom, causing a violent explosion. A total of 4 units were damaged by a combination of fire and the impact from the blast. And tonight, more than 50 units will have to remain vacant while the investigation continues.
I just kept screaming for someone to help my brother, please.
Investigators aren't releasing the names of the victims, but Tatiana Dabbs says one of the 2 men taken to the hospital with serious injuries was her brother, 25-year-old Tyree Davis.
My brother was bloody and his skin was hanging off, and he's hurt pretty bad.
It all began when an explosion ripped through at least one of the apartments, starting a fire that spread to another.
I didn't know what to do. It was total chaos.
Lanita Placido was inside her apartment when she felt the blast.
The whole building just shook, and I said, oh my God, what was that? Because it sounded like a bomb, and everybody started screaming and running.
Placido says tenants began evacuating when they saw one victim on the ground with burns all over his body.
His hands, fingers were hanging, and he was burned down his leg. The other man came out and he rolled around trying to get the fire out.
Kevin Douglas says the second victim was also in bad shape.
He started waving his arms around like he was on fire, and it seemed to me like, I don't know, some type of acid might have been on him or something, but the EMT took him right away.
Now, a total of 146 people have been displaced as a result of this explosion. Of those, 71 are in need of a place to stay tonight, and the Red Cross is helping those people. It could be 24 to 48 hours before the building is deemed safe by inspectors. As for criminal responsibility, investigators tell us that those responsible for this lab could face both arson and drug manufacturing charges. We're live in Rancho Cordova. Gabriel Roxas, News 10.
Gabriel, we've heard a lot about meth lab explosions and the environmental problems that poses other than the initial blast. What exactly were these men doing with marijuana, extracting oil?
Yeah, from what we understand, the end product it's known as honey oil. Sometimes it's also called hash oil, and apparently that is a more potent drug than the marijuana itself. So the marijuana is apparently in these situations usually used as the raw material, and it's an attempt to extract this so-called honey oil from that. It apparently has a higher THC concentration, and it can be a more valuable drug in terms of street value than the marijuana itself.
Do we know what they were using that exploded? What caused the explosion?
That's not clear right now. Obviously, there was something flammable and something ignited, and the explosion is described as quite violent. We had witnesses tell us that the entire building shook, and this is a large building. It's about 56 units. Only 4 were actually damaged by the fire and the impact, but neighbors were telling us that the entire building shook. So it's not exactly clear how the lab itself works, but there is obviously a flammable component and something ignited that caused that blast. Christina Duran and her friends had enjoyed their evening at the Cameo Club Casino's restaurant, but when the check came, Christina couldn't believe her eyes.
I got the bill and I was looking at the bill, And I was like, why does the receipt say fat girls?
At first, her friends assumed she was joking.
I was laughing at her, and she was like, I'm serious. I'm like, no, it does not say fat girls. Let me see it.
She was like, you're lying. And I was like, no, I'm serious. Look at it. She was like, fat girls.
I was like, give me that. And I'm looking, I was like, oh, heck no.
When the server returned, he denied having anything to do with it. He explained that Jeff, the name on the receipt, must have been the one who typed the words into the system, but Jeff was gone, so the three demanded to see a manager.
He had like a smirk on his face, like if it was funny, but trying not to laugh.
The manager apologized, but his first reaction was to offer 25% off the bill. The ladies were shocked.
He was like, well, I could do 50%. And we were just like, are you serious?
Cristina Huerta took a photo of the receipt, and although she was embarrassed, she wanted others to see it.
Because it's wrong.
All three ladies say they can understand why people will laugh when they first hear this story. But after a while, it's no laughing matter.
It's not funny. Because it's like, I could just see it over and over again. And I still can't believe it. They were just fat girls. It's just something we gotta deal with.
We wanted to know how something like this could happen, so we asked the management at the Cameo Club Casino.
I was really appalled at obviously the behavior.
Bar manager Jimmy Seamers wasn't working the night this happened, but when he found out, he questioned Jeff, whom Seamers says admitted to typing the words into the system.
I don't think he understood completely because he was busy last night, but that's just no excuse.
Seamers says Jeff remains suspended while management continues to investigate.
Can you foresee anything in this investigation that would basically save this guy's job?
No.
In the meantime, Seamers has a message for the women.
I just want to tell them that we're sincerely sorry for that and that we'll do everything in our power to make sure that this never happens to anyone ever again.
Nonetheless, it isn't clear if anything can make up for the damage done.
I still can't get that out of my mind, what happened to us. Like, I still can't believe that somebody would put that on a receipt.
They can't change it. There's something that we gotta live with, all three of us.
Dale and Christina, it's taken months, but after numerous requests, the court finally agreed to release to me hundreds of pages of juvenile court documents. They include medical records, police reports, and CPS communications. The judge who authorized their release noted the public interest in the case, as well as the statewide audit it prompted. Contained within these pages are some of the answers to the questions we've been asking since the beginning.
Police department, come out, Anna.
Why? That's been the key question since Anna and Alex Nikolaev showed the world this home video they shot of Sacramento police and CPS social workers entering their home April 24th and taking their son, Sammy.
I'm gonna grab your baby and don't resist and don't fight me, okay?
For months, doctors had been worried about the boy's condition, noting Samuel continues to be in congestive heart failure. His weight gain has not been adequate. The doctor goes on to write, "We may have to intervene surgically sooner than we hoped for." On April 16th, Anna brought Sammy to Sutter Memorial Hospital's emergency room with the flu. Doctors made a disturbing discovery. Quote, 2 weeks ago, they went on vacation and forgot his medicines, but since he seemed to be doing fine, they left him off of them. Further noting, quote, the cardiologist did not tell them to stop the meds. Over the course of several days, the Nikolaevs argued with hospital staff over what to feed the baby and whether to allow doctors to insert a feeding tube. Sammy also suffered from a hernia, and documents show Anna claimed, quote, if she placed coins on both sides of his hernia, it will go away. When News 10 first met Anna, she described how difficult these days were, especially after doctors began pushing for surgery.
If we got the one mistake after another, like I don't want to have my baby have a surgery in the hospital where I don't feel safe.
All along, we've known Anna removed Sammy from Sutter without a proper discharge, against medical advice. A Sutter social worker called the police to find them. Officers met the Nikolaevs across town at Kaiser Permanente. But CPS records show when a Sutter social worker learned that Kaiser had released Sammy to his parents, she, quote, expressed frustration at this because the child needs immediate follow-up. Kaiser records show both hospitals communicated with each other about Sammy's care. A Kaiser doctor specifically noted, I do not have concern for the safety of the child at home with his parents. However, the Sutter social worker told CPS she was unable to get, quote, any treatment or discharge information from the child's Kaiser emergency room visit. On April 24th, CPS began a rapid investigation and received a letter from one of Sammy's cardiologists who wrote, the child remains at risk for failure to thrive, dehydration, developmental delay, and death. CPS decided to place Sammy in protective custody and called police, and that's what led to this moment. After Sammy returned to Sutter, the Nikolaevs went public with their experience. The couple has credited public scrutiny for getting their son to Stanford, where he finally received his heart surgery.
And since the release of the court documents, the Nikolaevs have filed a claim against Sacramento County that seeks an unspecified amount in damages. A spokesperson for CPS cited that claim as reason why they could not comment specifically about this case. We also asked the Nikolaevs to comment on the information revealed in the documents. Their attorney declined our request for an interview. We should note that among these documents are objections by both Anna and Alex Nikolaev, in which they insist much of what's in here relies on hearsay materials. And in my most recent exchange with Anna, she wrote in a Facebook message, quote, "They've been lying from the beginning, so that's nothing new to us." As for Sammy, the family tells us he's growing up fast, he recently became a big brother, and he'll turn 1 year old later this month.
Wow, boy. You know, we knew from the start, that this wasn't a case of Sutter just taking the baby away for no reason. We just couldn't get the information on what the reason was or why they were doing it this way. But you can see where there were, cultural miscommunications, medical miscommunications, and yeah, I mean, but there are some reasonable reasons there.
Yeah, we had always heard severe neglect. This really kind of flushes out what they were interpreting as severe neglect. What they were saying was the evidence that they found of severe neglect. So this really kind of gives us a better picture of what their thinking was, what their reasoning was.
Yeah, CPS had reason to be concerned about the baby's health. The third part of this, though, is kind of the strong-armed way the baby was taken away from the family. That's upsetting to a lot of people, that maybe there was a better way to handle that moment when you go into someone's house and take their baby.
Yeah,
there's always going to be areas here that the sides just are not going to agree. But I think when we see those pictures that Anna just sent us in, the recent pictures of Sammy, the one thing on which we can all agree, it's just great to see that baby healthy and doing well.
Exactly.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Gabriel.
Yeah, Christina, this store is in Sacramento County, but the city of Sacramento ended a few blocks west of where I am now, and that means that customers on this side of the line should still be paying 8% sales tax, not the 8.5% city sales tax that took effect in April. And we met one customer who says those details matter.
When I checked the bill, I saw that the tax rate was too high.
It's something a lot of people might overlook, but not Frank Miller. He was already paying a couple $100 for labor to fix his ignition control module and another $36.89 in parts. When he saw the $314 tax charged for the parts, he did the math in his head and knew it was too much.
And when I confronted them about it, they were evasive and defensive about it and said that that's what the computer does. And that's all there is to it.
Miller paid the bill and immediately called the Board of Equalization.
Generally, retailers are doing the right thing. We find once in a while when the rates change, there may be some confusion, and we understand that honest mistakes happen.
It's possible that's what happened here. Sacramento City voters approved a new 8.5% sales tax that took effect in April. However, when the store wouldn't refund Miller's money, he got suspicious.
If there is collusion going on, and someone is skimming the difference between 8% and 8.5%, that could run into some serious money.
Much more than the 19 cents Miller says the store owes him, which is why he wants state officials to get to the bottom of it. BOE officials tell us if you think the same thing has happened to you, call them, but don't stop there.
Go back to the retailer, point it out to the retailer, and the retailer is required to give that customer a refund, that difference.
The store would only refer us to their corporate media relations. A spokesperson for Pep Boys tells us they are cooperating with the BOE to investigate the issue, and they insist if there is a mistake, it is not a deliberate one, adding that tax rates are not handled by store employees, but through centralized programming.
Then someone programmed the computer wrong.
The spokesperson for Pep Boys tells us that they hope to have any mistakes corrected as early as this evening. Now, in the meantime, the BOE urges everyone to know the tax rates where you're shopping, pay close attention to your bill, and report any errors. For example, I bought something at this Pep Boys myself a few hours ago. It cost me $9.99, and when I look at my receipt, they charged me 85 cents in tax. That would be 8.5%. 8% would be 80 cents. So if the BOE gets this all resolved, I think this place owes me a nickel. We're live in Sacramento County. Gabriel Roxas, News 10.
Yes, it sounds like some recalibration of computers are in order. Thank you very much, Gabriel.